What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 schedule preview and projected records for the 2023 college football season, and we continue them with the Kansas Jayhawks. Here was a schedule last year for the Kansas Jayhawks. Overall record 6-6 in the regular season and 6-7 overall in 2022. You look at the schedule, look at who they played in the non-conference last year. They played Tennessee Tech, Houston on the road, and then Duke here at home. So they had a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Of course, they had to play a group of 5 team in Houston and then Duke here out of the Power 5. But they did end up beating both of those teams in the non-conference in the month of September. And you look out this schedule here. From the month of September, starting from September 2nd and October the 1st, they started out 5-0. We didn't expect Kansas to get to 5-0 in the start of the season. And in the month of October, it kind of, got tougher for them. TCU turned out to be a really big surprise team from last year. They had to play back-to-back road games with Oklahoma and Baylor, and that kind of got brutal down the stretch, but still, Kansas made it to a bowl game last year, and that win over Oklahoma State got them into the bowl game. And they lost their last 3 games, or I should say now 4, because they did lose to Arkansas in their last game there of the bowl season. So Kansas had a pretty overall really good season last year, so they were really a surprise team. This is a team that returns a lot of production from last year, so let's now get to the schedule for 2023. Here's a schedule for Kansas heading into 2023. You look at who they'll play in the non-conference this year. They'll play Missouri State, Illinois, and then Nevada here on the road. Illinois is pretty much the only team that, is going to be a tough one there out of the non-conference, but the non-conference schedule is not all too tough as it was last year. Of course, you had to play Houston, and of course, you had to play Duke as well out of the non-conference. So, I mean, it was a tough non-conference schedule last year, but this year it's not as bad. You have to play Nevada on the road, but I don't think it's going to be really that tough of a road game there for Kansas. But they'll play almost every single Big 12 team on that schedule. So let's go game by game now for this Kansas team. So they'll start the season off with their 3 non-conference games here. Missouri State on August the 31st. Then they'll play Illinois on September the 9th. That will be a Week 2 game against a Big 10 opponent. So I'm looking forward to that matchup there with Illinois, a team that almost went to the Big 10 championship last year. Then they'll play Nevada on the road. So they'll play their 3 non-conference games here. They'll play that first one, though, on August the 31st, and then they'll play those 2 other non-conference games in the month of September. Then they'll get started with Big 12 play here with BYU on September the 23rd. BYU, one of those newcomers in the Big 12. They'll get them at home this year. Then they'll play Texas on the road on September the 30th. Remember a couple years ago, Kansas did defeat Texas on the road a couple years ago. We did not expect that to happen. It seems like Texas has a tough time with Kansas each and every single year. This will be on September the 30th. Should be an interesting matchup there. Then they'll play UCF here on October the 7th. This will be a home game for them, one of those newcomers in the Big 12. And then they'll play Oklahoma State on the road. They did defeat this team last year at home. Could be an interesting challenge there, but Oklahoma State lost a ton of guys in the transfer portal. And then they'll get a bye week after that game. Then they'll play Oklahoma here on October the 28th. And if you're a Kansas fan, that's a pretty good spot for a bye week. Oklahoma wasn't that good last year, but I think they'll be even better this year. The good news is they'll get this one at home. And I think Kansas, this is a pretty good spot for them in the Big 12 in a bye week. They'll play that game on October the 28th. Then they'll play Iowa State on the road. That could be a tricky game there. Then they'll play Texas Tech and Kansas State in back-to-back home games here. So they'll get these 2 games at home. Of course, rivalry game there with Kansas State. And then they'll end things out here with Cincinnati on the road on November the 25th, one of those other newcomers in the Big 12. So they'll play 3 newcomers in the Big 12. They won't have to play Houston on the schedule. That's the good news. And they also don't have to play TCU. That's the good news there, a team they got beat by them last year. And they also don't have to play Baylor. That's the good news as well. So I think this schedule really sets up nicely for Kansas to have a really good season. The good news is you get Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Kansas State at home. But you have to play Iowa State on the road and Oklahoma State on the road, but you have to also play Illinois out of the non-conference. So this schedule is not too tough for Kansas. I mean, it's not really as bad as it was last year. They had them tough non-conference games there from last year, but I think this year the schedule is not all that tough. So let's go get to a projection here for this Kansas team. This is a scale I use for my projections. If it's a 1% game, these are games where Kansas has no chance of winning in. 20% games in the orange. There'll be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs. 40% in the yellow. These are games where Kansas is going to be about a touchdown of an underdog. There'll be a heavy underdog in some of those games. 50-50 games in the white. These are games where they can go either way. 60% games. These are games where Kansas is going to be favored by at least a touchdown. 80% games are going to be favored by a couple touchdowns in double digits. And then 90% games in the green. These are games where Kansas is going to have easy wins and pretty much games where they're going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. We always start with the green games here on these projections, so let's start with the green games here. Games where Kansas will be having easy wins and also more than 3 touchdown favorites. And I think you got 2 of those on the schedule, Missouri State and Nevada. Missouri State, easy win there on August the 31st. I think that's a week 0 game right there. And then Nevada here on September the 16th. That's pretty interesting to me. I mean, it's on the road. I probably could have put it in the blue, but I haven't studied Nevada at all. I don't really know what they look like. I'm kind of getting into the group of 5 teams a little bit more, but as of right now, I'm going to favor Kansas in this game by more than 3 touchdowns. But I'm not going to call this one over a 95% game. I think this will be about 90%, but I think Kansas, still should be big-time favorites heading into both of these games in the non-conference. So they'll get 2 out of the 3 non-conference games. I think this will be games where Kansas is going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. I don't have any blue games, surprisingly. I don't have any purple games, also surprisingly, on this schedule. We're going to go to the games now where they're going to be underdogs, and I don't have any red or orange games, but I do have some yellow games on here in the 40% category. And I think you got 3 of those yellow games. Texas on the road, Oklahoma and Kansas State both at home. I think you can call Kansas a heavy underdog in all 3 of these games. Texas, I know it's a tough road game. It should be in the orange, but Kansas has, been close with Texas the last couple years. And remember the last time when Kansas, came to Texas, they did defeat them in Austin and Texas. We don't really know about them sometimes. You never know. They might choke sometimes. And this could be one of those games where Texas has a trap game. And I think Kansas really gives their biggest shot here to beat Texas here on the road. Same thing with Oklahoma and Kansas State. Both of these games are at home. And from where Kansas was last year, I'm going to put both of these games in the yellow. Kansas State did win the Big 12 championship last year. I know it should be in the orange, but I'm going to stick with it and put it in the yellow just because it's a rival game. And this is a game that I probably could have put as a 50-50 game. But as of right now, I'm going to make Kansas a heavy underdog in this game. It could switch to a 50-50 game by the time we do those predictions. But like I said, Kansas has a lot of production coming back heading into 2023. And the rest of the games here for Kansas on this schedule, I think, are all 50-50 games. Illinois, BYU, UCF, Texas Tech at home, and then the road games with Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Cincinnati. I think these are all 50-50 games. I mean, based off of where these teams were last year and based off of where Kansas was last year, I'm going to put these all in the 50-50 games. Illinois is going to be a pretty interesting non-conference game. You get the newcomers, BYU and UCF, both at home in the Big 12, and then you'll have Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Cincinnati all on the road. I think, they don't really have a tough stretch there. I mean, most of their hard games are pretty much at home, especially like Illinois. You got Oklahoma at home. You also got, Kansas State at home, so that's the good news there. I think the schedule really sets up nicely to have a really good season, but they do got some tough road games there with Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati will probably be their, really a game that can go either way. And then you got Oklahoma State and Iowa State, 2 very tough road games, but they don't have to play, Oklahoma on the road. That's pretty good. And you also don't have to play Baylor or TCU on the schedule. So really this schedule sets up nicely for them. Let's go to the projected record now. Again, this is not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on this schedule. So if you look at the games that Kansas is favored in and also the games that are in the yellow and games that are in the white, those are the 50-50 games. You get an overall projected record for this Kansas team at 6-6 for 2023. 7-5 though is really possible for Kansas. I think I can see them possibly going 8-4 perhaps, and maybe worst case scenario will probably be for like 5-7 or maybe 4-8. If they do go 5-7 after getting to a bowl game last year, it would kind of be just disappointing for Kansas. But Like I said, we don't really know how good this team is going to be, but they do have a lot of production coming back. They were just a surprise team from last year. Maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe, they were a surprise team from a year ago, and they were just that good, but maybe they're not good this year. We just don't know how good they're going to be. But my overall projected record for this Kansas team is 6-6. Let me guys know what you think about this Kansas team down in the comments below. What do you think their worst case scenario would be? What do you think their best case scenario would be? What do you think their overall projected record will be for 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.